Makilala, which means get to know in Tagalog, the first Filipino-American TV talk show in the New York metropolitan area. My name is Rachelle Ocampo, and I am graced with the presence of my co-host, Cristina Pastor, but also missing our loving Jen Fuhrer, who is still with the family in the Philippines. This episode is called Life in the Arts and Entertainment Industry, featuring not only one, but two very talented and accomplished female artists. Now, I was born here in New York and only had one Filipino TV programming installed just about 5 years ago. So I had very minimal interaction with artists in the Philippines. AKA, I'm sure I'll be learning a lot from you ladies today. So let's first start with introducing our gorgeous guest host today. For this episode, Miss Jessy Daing-Musbeh. Jessy grew up in the Philippines. She used to work in television and did business here in the US. Jessy, welcome to Makilala.
Hi, thank you guys for, it's an honor to be part of the show. Actually, yeah, I came in this country 14 years ago, and I used to work for ABS-CBN, Balitang K, as a researcher, and then after that, I worked as a newscast, actually hourly newscast for RPN9, and then I came over here, work for construction industry for 12 years. Then, I don't know why I work in construction.
I could see the relationship.
We have to talk, so did I.
Yeah, that's what
because I know why you are there, because we need to make a living.
Exactly.
True. We have those.
Exactly, and now I own a home-based business. Which is Jessy Couture. I sell designers, so later I'll be giving you my and that's about it about me. So
thank you, Jessy. So now the reason why we are all here in the first place, mother and daughter duo, Miss Lorli Villanueva and Sibyl Santiago. Lorli has been in Philippine theater, television, and films for more than 3 decades. Sibyl was born in San Francisco, lived in Manila for a while, and then raised here in New York. Sibyl has been actually an actress since the age of 2,
yeah.
with her first walk-on role with her mom, veteran actress Lorli Villanueva. So it was actually in Lino Brocas, right? Lino Brocas, Maynila sa
Kuko ng Liwanag.
Yes, which I know translates into Manila in the claws of life.
Perfect.
Which was recently restored and screened as one of the classics featured at this year's Festival de Cannes. But did you guys know that this was the only Filipino film included in the book 1001 movies you must see before you die?
Yes.
Really? Yeah.
Wow.
Definitely check it out, because after doing some research, I found that out. The only Filipino movie. So let's get right into it. Tell us, Lorli and Sibyl, what are the main differences that you've experienced, that you've seen in showbiz back in the Philippines and here in the US? The main differences.
Who are you asking?
Both.
First, let me say this. I started in theater as a founding member of the Philippine Educational Theater Association.
Oh, wow.
PETA, right?
And this was in 1966, so I go further than 3 decades.
Oh, wow.
So it's that far gone, And I came to New York in 1999 to permanently live here, although I was here in the 80s as a Fulbright scholar.
Oh, wow.
I took up my graduate studies in communication studies, radio, TV, films, after which I went back there and started directing television and films, produced my own shows, put up my own company called Emmaus and Trimedia Exponents. I brought singers all over the world as a talent manager, and so many other actors that I was handling. So that's part of the episode of being in show business. But after I graduated with my graduate studies at Northern Illinois as a Fulbright scholar, the first, by the way, Filipino artist to be in a Fulbright, because Fulbright is for academia.
How did this not show up in Google?
I
have to make
anyway,
sure.
to make a long story short, I went back to the Philippines and taught at the Mass Communications Department of the University of the Philippines.
Oh, really?
And after which, I decided to come back here because we were starting to do the Pitu-Pitu films, which was so against my principles as an actor.
A
I
little
felt
bit of
that to
background.
do a
What's
film
the Pitu-Pitu
Oh, yeah.
film?
in 7 days.
Oh, yes.
There was a
Oh,
time
yes.
when they had
Quickie
all this-
films.
The quickie
Yeah.
films.
yeah, the Mother Lily films, which were done in 7 days. And I couldn't ever imagine quality. And I felt I was always after education and quality
Yes,
and being a good example to younger actors.
yeah.
So I said, this is not for me. And I decided to move on here. My children were growing up. Sibyl, whom we call my princess, had been exposed in stage. I bring her around with me backstage during my performances at Fort Santiago and everywhere all over the country. I bring her all over with me when I direct shows. I bring her everywhere, and I guess her blood has been fed.
Yeah.
Her milk was show business, and that's why she's in this business today.
So Sibyl started ahead of you. Sibyl started at 2 years old. You started at what? How old were
She
you?
started
was
when
a
she was
teen.
even in my stomach, being fed
Yeah, that's
by
right.
showbiz
She was
income.
on set for most of her pregnancy.
Yeah, so I was on the set full time, forever, and to be given a Fulbright, even as you're an actress, the background of my teaching out of school youth and grassroots theater and traveling the country as an educator, using theater as a means for education of out of school youths, gave me that opportunity to come here for my graduate studies. I came back in 1999 to permanently live here after many years of being an educator in New York, certified in high school English and literature in the New York City state of New York. And
All those accomplishments.
I'll take a week telling you
Yeah,
about my
wow.
stories. Anyway, this is capsulizing, and in 1999 I decided to stay here. Today I'm the deputy chair of the Graduate School of Education at Touro College, Education and Special Ed, which is the biggest special ed program in the whole state of New York. It's an independent study, and that I am the deputy chair of that program. But I have never forgotten my roots in theater. I
theater.
still come out in television here. I still do. I have done a print ad for Kmart. I do auditions, yes, and so on and so forth.
Nice.
And when I first came, my first movie was with Michael Douglas and Don't Say a Word, right? And the only reason I wanted to really get myself, even if I was a background or an extra, they call it in the Philippines,
Extra,
we call it extra,
Extra,
but
yeah.
with one lines and all of that, is because I wanted to see how show business was being done here, as opposed to how we did it in the Philippines.
Yes.
I've directed films in the Philippines. I did Andres Bonifacio in the Philippines and so on, so many other historical. I go for historical and educational films and television. And with that, I saw that there isn't, that's your question now, how it,
What is the difference?
it differs.
Yeah.
Different, yeah.
The only difference, I think, is they have more time and money and tapes to waste here to make so many shots of the same thing. While in the Philippines, I remember when I would shoot, it's like a pre-edited shoot. You have to make sure that your shot is perfect because you cannot waste money having more films.
Yeah.
You know, it's always a limited budget, limited time. And it's also unfortunate we don't have the kind of SAG or Screen Actors Guild situation back home. So
Are you a member of SAG?
yes, we are. Both of us are, and she's even more. We are also members of AFTRA. And I've directed off-Broadway shows here.
Wow, off-Broadway.
Yeah, I have directed some really, really successful shows off Broadway. So we have become members of SAG. But what I'm saying is, going back, is that there is no union for actors there, nor directors. Right? So you do a film, and that's it. That's the end of your story. If you're given, let's say, 1 million for that film, which has never happened anyway, except if you are a producer of the film as well, like you would be a Sharon Cuneta, where you have money to spend on your own film and all of that. After the film is over, it's over. Over here, you get residual dues for as long as, even when you're dead, your family still
Your
gets a
estate will get
residual.
something.
And you're
Yes,
quite
and
protected. There is no such thing in the Philippines.
Is there anything that's happening to help with that movement?
They're
So that
trying, they've tried, but it has never happened really successfully. There's always talk about it, there's organizing, and it never happens. And
Sibyl here
unfortunate-
is continuing your tradition.
Yeah, that's what I was going to lead into.
Yeah.
That with that exposure that she's had, very, very strong exposure in TV, films, and stage, she has really taken on to it.
That's
You
right.
know, I left her here when she was like 16, 17, and she looked like she was 20, 14. She looked like
14.
she was. She, and she
Well,
wanted
I
to,
wanted to.
Well, she wanted to stay.
Yeah,
She didn't want to go home. I said, "What do you do at 14 alone there? I'm going home to."
'Cause I-
And she says,
yeah.
"No, what does a 14 do in the Philippines? But do nothing at home." She
Yeah,
said,
just
"Here I
go to
work."
school.
Yeah, yeah.
And she
true.
liked working
was
and going to
working.
school.
So she was living independently at 14?
Yes, she was.
14.
And everybody thought she was 17 or 18 because you can see I'm 4'11" and she's 5'9".
I also had a working. So that was
Wow.
So
That's a whole
did
other
you get-
conversation.
So she just got herself involved from beauty contests to modeling, and now she's
Well, not
into
beauty
the
contest.
SOHO.
Not really the beauty contest. That was
Yeah,
more of
well.
a residual of I actually I was a dancer too when I was younger, so I used to dance with a touring company, the Philippine Dance Company of New York, for like 14 years. I was with them, and there was always this joke that they had in the dance company because a lot of the dancers that were in it, you know, were mostly, I guess, of the mixed. We had mixed ethnicities, so a lot of them tend to be sent to the pageants. So
okay.
I wasn't really a pageant girl, but it was like, if you're one of the dance company members, you have to join one of these pageants. It was one of those things. But it was fun. It was a great experience because it was sort of my tie to the Filipino community. It was the dance company back
How
then.
did you get involved with the SOHO
So,
film
so
festival?
to continue what she was talking about, actually, to answer your question, for me, I have a very different experience because now I run the SOHO International Film Festival, and I also own my own production company. So I work with a lot of independent filmmakers.
Okay.
So the indie circle when it comes to filmmaking is very different than the studio, like something like what she did with Michael Douglas. I mean, I work in studio films as well, but the big difference with studio films, I think that I found from here in the Philippines is the hierarchy. And I've worked in other countries as well where when you're on set, the hierarchy of our film studios, I feel even the big studios is still definitely a lot tighter. So when you're on set, whether you're the gaffer, the grip, the cleaning person, catering, or you're the star of the movie, you kind of all collaborate in this one project. That kind of doesn't happen here. Here, when you're on set, it's very segregated. Like your camera, for example, camera department, you can only, there's like a,
Like click
like
clicks for you.
well,
Like
there's steps. Again, like I said, the word I use is hierarchy as to who talks to who to get to who.
The picking
So
order.
it's very exactly. It's a very clear
Who's-
pecking order.
Who's on
and
the
it's-
top of it? The producer?
It really depends on the production. I mean, you will have, if you have a big studio that does it, it might be the producer, or if it's a film where you have a superstar director, it could be, technically it should be the director technically, but then if you're on set where you're working with a really big star, an A-lister, they
could
kind of
be.
have a lot of pull
Isn't
before
that
the
the same
production
thing?
gets started.
Isn't that the same conditions in the Philippines?
It's. I think it's a little bit, for my experience at least, watching her at least, growing up doing. I was also I was in Flor de Luna when I was younger. I did it for like
Yeah, she
7
was
seasons.
one of my actors.
You were the, you produces it.
She direct-
was
she was one of the
Flor de
directors,
Luna,
yeah.
Yes, the longest running soap
yeah.
opera.
Soap
in
opera
the
director.
Aside from Annalisa, is it?
No,
They were going
I
at the
did
same
Flor de
time, yeah.
Luna,
Flor de
yeah,
Luna,
yeah,
because
and
I know there was those two when I was
Yes.
younger. I always watched.
There was like
Annalisa
they were
and
like
Flor de
competition,
Luna,
but
yeah.
it's funny
I'll
because
ask my mom about it.
they make it look like it's this big competition, but we're actually all friends. Like at least
Yeah.
us, the actors,
Yes.
we all hung out. Like Julie
It's
and
the studios
Janice.
who have
Yeah.
The
competition.
CD or the
That's
VHS or the
They don't have it. We've been asking. Yeah,
I'm
we
sure.
actually-
I'm sure ABS, CBN would have that.
Yeah, I don't know if they just
Yeah,
stored
they
that.
should- they
Well,
should
I
have
actually
that.
wanted to know not just the differences between the U.S. and the Philippines, but have you ever experienced any discrimination as like a female, first a female, let alone Asian, in this field?
I definitely have. Actually, it's funny you mentioned that because that was one of my biggest kind of push with the film festival. We're really big supporters for the women filmmakers.
Okay.
For example, because in the film industry, when it comes to filmmakers, the ratio still for women filmmakers being acknowledged, even or being accepted, sort of in the in the mainstream are a very, very, very small percentage. So I've been really pushing a lot on that. One of the reasons that I've gotten friendly with a lot of really bigger names in the industry is because they know that I'm a big
Pushing.
I'm a big supporter of it. In terms of the acting part of it, it definitely I had trouble for a very long time in casting because they have a very specific idea of what an Asian actor is, for example, or what they consider Asian.
Okay.
So, like, I'm being Filipino, not considered Asian enough. I get seen for Latino roles, but then you fall between the cracks.
I know we don't have so
So-
much time, so I would like to just interject on the word discrimination, because she talks about it in the industry. I would talk about it in general terms. I think that we will feel only discriminated if we feel we are the ones who discriminate about ourselves. 'Cause I never felt that in all the years that I have been here since '80, and I was probably one of the few Filipinos around at the time who's trying to go up the ladder. But I never felt I was discriminated. I think because I felt I was equal to everyone. So I think
But
it's
how do you
within
feel that there's not enough roles there that's not just looking for Asian, but Filipino roles? Why aren't people
Because
asked
we're
for
always
Filipinos?
mistaken as Spanish.
Spanish.
Yeah.
There was
But how do
never like
we-
a separation. Although now I gotta say it's changing.
It's changing,
It's
yeah.
big. It's taken a very long time, but it's changing.
It is changing, yeah.
I mean, I see breakdowns regularly, and I actually see them now asking specifically, would say Filipino or So we're getting a little
You
more.
mean there are more roles created for Filipinos?
Yeah, I think
Is that
it's,
how it's
see, that's
changing?
beginning. Yeah, it's
The
beginning
general
to,
idea of Asian is they always find the eye.
Yeah.
It should be like Chinese,
yeah.
Vietnamese, and Japanese. Those are their quality of the Asians.
Yeah,
Filipinos
that's right.
look like Spanish or Mexican.
Mexican.
So
But at the same
But
time,
we
not
have
Spanish
to.
enough.
It's just
That's sort of like-
raising the awareness that Filipinos are Filipinos. We're
Yeah,
not Spanish. We're not
exactly.
Asian. We're
Correct.
Filipino.
Yeah.
Correct.
So I
That's
think
right.
if we just start at least talking about it and acknowledge that we
Yes,
are a
yes.
different
Yeah.
breed, we are
Yeah.
Filipino, I think that will
I mean, we
hopefully
are
change the
Asian.
ground.
We're
Yeah.
Asian, but we're specific.
specific.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, wait,
Specific.
I have a question. It's not really a question. I just want to know your thoughts since we spoke about chinky eyes and all these facial features. During your time, was there like like the cosmetic surgery? Was it done at that time? Because I know,
Yeah, they did some, but I never
but
did.
it was a taboo, right? Right?
Age gracefully. It's a mental
Oh, it still
attitude
is,
all the way.
Because right now they're very like, okay, they're not ashamed to
I know.
open up like, oh, I did this, I did that.
No.
But during your time, there was no
Some
cosmetic
of them
surgery.
did. They would go abroad to Thailand and they would have it done.
And have it
Really?
done.
And I know some
Yeah.
stars did that, but I never did.
So, ladies, I hate to cut it short
Oh,
since this discussion has just gotten actually fired up.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But
No.
we have a very, very special guest performer here today, Dennis C., who is an MTV artist who hails from New Jersey and originally grew up in the Philippines. He says you can take the Filipino out of the Philippines, but you can never take the Philippines out of the Filipino. And C continues to incorporate his unique heritage into his art, which contributed to him to become a FONS Outstanding Artist Awardee in 2011. For Makilala, he will be performing one of his track originals, Shine On, which is included in his latest album, Stronger Than Before, and was nominated in the pop category last year at the Hollywood Music in Media Awards. And to sing us one of his songs from his Carrier Stronger Than Before CD, Shine On.
You look at me and I hesitate. What's in your eyes? What's mine to break? Our worlds collide, yet it seems to say we're worlds apart in this little space. Yeah, it's calling out and I'm taking it. It's in the stars, I know it's time to begin. I see the road ahead, the one with shades of gray. There's no turning back, the walls for us to break. Shine on, shine through. Gotta give a little bit of you for a better world, better day. You know it's true when it all comes down to you. The time is now for us to change. The questions asked, the voices heard. What's in the past, the lessons learned. Beyond the doubts, there's a choice to make. Must we toe the line or do we stand for change? Shine on, shine through. Gotta give a little bit of you for a better world, better day. You know it's true when it all comes down to you. The time is now for us to change. Shine on, shine through. It's calling out to you. A better world, better day. You know it's true when it all comes down to you. The time is now for us to change. Moments are come and gone, and yet it stays the same. Finding what's in your heart, the love remains. Shine on, shine through. Gotta give a little bit of you. A better world, better day. You know it's true when it all comes down to you. The time is now for us to change. It's calling out to you. Better world, better day. You know it's true when it all comes down to you. The time is now for us to change. Let the music take control, and it all comes down to love. Let the spirit of change shine on, shine on, shine on.
Thank you, Dennis, for that catchy beat of Shine On. You can find more of Dennis C's beautiful talent and a listing of his future shows at dsymusic.com, or you could even email him at dsymusic@me.com. Thank you, Jessy, for being one of our lovely guest hosts. You can actually reach Jessy at facebook.com/
Jessy Couture.
Jessy Couture.
With a Y.
With
J-E-S-S-Y.
a Y.
Yes.
J-E-S-S-Y. And Lorli and Sibyl, thank you for joining us and sharing your story as not just mother-daughter, but as experienced leaders in the entertainment industry.
And it's not like it's not even enough, right?
It's definitely not enough. We definitely need another episode.
So
So
many
we
things we
only
need to
just
ask
scraped off the
questions.
top. But thank you for joining us today. You can actually find out more about our special guests, Lorli and Sibyl, at facebook.com/Lorli Villanueva and facebook.com/Sibyl Santiago. Now, be sure to keep the conversation going by sharing what roles have you seen Filipinos in the entertainment industry, and how can we get us more active in the arts industry. So you said, Lorli, about educating, making sure that we raise more awareness of how to educate in the arts, or using education
In the arts.
in the arts, even better. So you can actually tweet your responses using the hashtag filmmaking at MakilalaTV, and our Facebook at facebook.com/MakilalaTV. And bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.